Welcome! I'm Vine and today I have for you an overview of the Necropolis faction from the Heroes of Might and Magic 3. The evil, aligned, spooky, scary skeletons of Necromancer's Guild from Deja. And about them, I have a lot to say from the lore standpoint, because as Kriegans were losers, the Necromancers are drama queens of this franchise. Funny enough, historically they weren't anything like that until recent years. You see, Deja, or like we say in Polish, Deja, was established by expelled wizards from the kingdom of Brakada. Their crime was the practice of dark magic with no moral restraints, which they continue to do by establishing a guild and just calmly sitting in their wasteland of a kingdom. It is actually unclear if their realm was barren before their arrival, but let me tell you that pure brown dirt biome that is not an Icelandic desert is not a natural occurrence. So probably their practices created that environment over time. This is also somewhat confirmed by the fact that we have a canonical example of Necromancer's Guild terraforming a realm in the lore, just on a different continent. Putting this unique biome aside, for a long time Necromancers canonically did nothing geopolitically. Deja's diplomatic stance was just I will bother no one so no one will bother me. Until Sandro showed up and with the Lich King Phineas Vilmar devised a plan to take over Erathia. They had Lord Hard poison King Nicholas Griffenheart, then raised him as an undead to claim the Erathian throne. But during the scheme, undead King Nicholas got out of control and took the Vilmar's throne first. His rule was short and lived, as his daughter, Queen Catherine Ironfist, laid him properly to rest. Created power vacuum was quickly filled by scheming Archibald Ironfist, the antagonist of Heroes of Might and Magic 2, who fled here from Enroth to continue his research. Actually, despite being quite ambitious himself, he wanted the guild to revert back inward, only playing neighbors from the shadows so he could continue to work with the ancient tech and bring the golden age to Deja. This didn't stand with one of his advisors, Castor, a spacefarer and also an ancient tech enthusiast who overthrew Archibald and took over his research in aim to create Heavenly Forge, two 3D print blasters for goblins so he could take over the world. Canonically, this plan failed. The rest is reckoning. All of that happened in just 6 years after the supposed millennium of the guild doing nothing on the political scene. Before we go to mechanics, time for another lore fact to answer why suddenly the goblins showed up in Castor's plan. You see, the Necropolis faction represent mainly the Necromancer's Guild, not the Kingdom of Deja as a whole, because the main population of lower classes there are not vampires or even humans, but goblins. They are probably also the primary source of skeletons and zombies raised inside the kingdom's borders. Moreover, they are not your typical goblin variant of small pests, but tall green men with fully human intelligence. Well, almost fully human, as on average they are midwits. So in essence we can call them hobgoblins, though the Might and Magic 7 RPG consequently generalizes them as just goblins. Seriously, I could write a paper on goblins in this game, as all the variants and narrative inconsistencies only make them more interesting. But let's close the lore dump here. Now it's time for overall mechanics. The Necropolis is the meta town. Technically, not the best one there is, This title goes to Castle, but it has the most popular exploits in the game and orthodox fans that play only this town. Those exploits of course involve necromancy, an unbalanced skill that lets us snowball army numbers. Also the Cloak of Undead King, combo artifact that is quite easy to assemble and can improve necromancy skill from producing only skeletons to liches. Yup, it's bullshit and guarantees a win. This is why metaslaves play this faction religiously. But in terms of regular play, this town has some disadvantages when it comes to creatures. So, let's move to the units. On the first level, we get the Skeletons and Skeleton Warriors, one of the most memed, if not the most memed unit in the Heroes of Might and Magic 3. Stat-wise very mid and quite slow, but thanks to necromancy are often a backbone of the necromancer's army, to the point that the Death Knight Galthran, who specializes in them, is sometimes banned from games as his numbers are often seen as too exploitative. Still, not that useful unit in the early game. On the second level, we have Walking Dead and Zombies. Overall, weakest units of second level in the game, as even upgraded with Disease special skill, they do nothing useful except soaking up damage. On the third level, Necropolis gives us Wights and Rights, another mid unit. Considering the ability to fly, regenerate and drain mana after upgrade, they should be useful, but the low health effectively prevents this. In combination with zombies and skeletons, they tend to cause headaches to necromancers in early game. Fourth level is where the fun begins, as we get the vampires and vampire lords. Always upgrade them instantly, as in addition to flying and blocking enemy retaliation, vampire lords drain life. This skill allows them to replenish all losses on the battlefield. On top of this, their base stats are quite good, making them the best unit of 4th level in the game. On the 5th level sit Liches and Power Liches, core members of the Necromancer's Guild that are the only ranged unit of this town. But they have very good stats and upgraded Shoot Death Cloud that gives them area effect against living creatures. They are the reason why having the Cloak of the Undead King is so exploitative, as printing these guys lets us steamroll everything. On the 6th level, we get the Black Knights and Dread Knights. Another very good unit, as on top of very good stats, they curse enemies to deal minimal damage for 3 rounds, and upgraded have a 20% chance of dealing double base damage. Combined with Vampire Lords and Liches, they are the main offensive force in the Necropolis army, and a reason why this town has so many dedicated fans. And finally, on the 7th level are Bone and Ghost Dragons. Honestly, homeopathic unit that is one of the weakest units of 7th level in the game, more like a trophy than a troop, as their usefulness is mainly in taking priority in initiative queue and decreasing enemy morale using their special skill. Upgraded to Ghost form, they also have 20% chance to decrease health of enemy units by 50% upon attack for 3 rounds, which is useful if Black Knights or Vampires are nearby to attack the afflicted unit. Time for my opinion, as that was all relevant info about the faction. I have very mixed feelings about this town, as on the one hand, I love the lore behind the Necromancer's Guild. Undead drama queens with goblins and attitude are very amusing, but on the other hand, this town is very annoying to play against, and metaslaves are drawn to it like flies to shit due to multiple exploits. I also rarely play it since I'm not that into the undead vibe, so overall I love to have it but hate to see it in action. Anyway, What's your opinion about this faction? Write it in the comments, remember to visit channel's Discord, and see you later!